Good morning, JCA. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure that you all can see me. Happy Sunday, everyone. I hope you're all doing great and having a wonderful weekend. I have a ton going on here today, so I'm real excited to show you. Last week we had a little Asian style meal, and today it is pasta night. So we're gonna have some, I guess, Italian type food. I've already have cooking on here a combination of eggplant and yellow pepper. So I'm going to just raise up the temperature a little bit. You can see it's already getting brown, it's already sizzling, and it already smells delicious in this house. So eggplant, peppers, tomatoes, and potatoes are all a part of a group of food called nightshades. And last week I talked a little bit about how gluten has the ability of kind of escaping the gut sometimes for some people and causing inflammation. Unfortunately, nightshades could have that effect also for some people. So if you are one of those people that feels like you don't tolerate tomatoes, potatoes, peppers, or eggplants, then it could be because of this reason. It could be because these foods are having more of an ability to escape the gut, get into your blood, and cause inflammation. What I recommend for you is not to try to gain tolerance. Many people feel that they have a symptom from eating something, and then they figure out if they keep eating it or if they use different strategies to learn how to eventually tolerate a certain food that they didn't tolerate in the past. I actually don't think that is the right way to go. If your body is telling you by giving you a symptom that you are not tolerating a specific food, it's best to continue to avoid that food, because you don't want to push your body to the point where it is still causing some type of inflammation, but your body is no longer showing you the signs and the symptoms. So you're best off avoiding the foods that your body tells you is not working for you. Okay, back to this. So now I have here my eggplant, my peppers. I always recommend browning these vegetables in the pan before you add any seasonings, because once you add the salt and the other seasonings, it causes moisture to come out and the vegetable will no longer brown. So I haven't seasoned this yet. What I am going to do, and what I also try to recommend, is always adding the vegetables in the order in which they cook. So the eggplant and the peppers I thought would take the longest, so I added them first. I am going to cut up some onion because that is the next one that I would like to add. So if you can't see me, sorry, you can only see my legs right now. What I'm doing is quickly chopping up some onion. It was the one vegetable that I did not get to cut up before I started the video. So hopefully you can still hear me. This will just take me 1 second to put my onions chopped into the pan. I'm coming right back in a second. And what you can't see here is that I have a lot more colors coming to my meal. Okay, here we go. Here's my onions. I always recommend eating all the different colors of the rainbow. So every color of the rainbow represents a different vitamin or mineral, and you'll notice as we go that I'm going to get a lot more colors into this pan. The one thing that I don't have going on yet, because I am not about to eat this meal right after this video is over, I'm actually going to have this for dinner tonight, so I'm going to wait until later to cook up the pasta. So if you heard me last week, you do know that we have cut gluten out of our diet in this house because my husband has an autoimmune condition, and people with autoimmune conditions often, almost 99% of the time, have more of a leaky gut than people who don't have an autoimmune condition. So what does all that mean? A leaky gut means that we all have something like a cheesecloth that covers our gut and protects our gut. And as we eat food, it gets digested along our gastrointestinal tract and it goes out and it gets excreted. But when that cheesecloth that I just explained, which is the membrane and the surrounding of our gut, starts to get a little more, some more tears, right? And the holes get a little bit bigger. So rather than food digesting directly down our GI tract and out and being excreted, the food, undigested food, is able to more easily escape those holes in that cheesecloth and get into our blood. And when undigested food is in the blood, that's where it causes inflammation. And when you have an autoimmune condition, that inflammation will mean that your body is sending immune cells to get rid of that food, but those immune cells are also attacking self-tissue, like your thyroid tissue if you have Hashimoto's or Graves' disease. It could affect your joints if you have rheumatoid arthritis. So if you have an autoimmune condition, you probably have more of a leaky gut than someone who doesn't have those kinds of conditions. And for you, it is best to avoid the foods that can stimulate even more of a leaky gut. So gluten is one of those foods. So we have cut gluten out in our house, and I have to tell you, this pasta that we eat, it's called Jovial. I think it might be backwards for you, but it says it's Jovial, J like as the word joy, so Jovial, Jovial is the name of that pasta. It is kosher, and I purchased this on a website called thrivemarket.com. That's where I purchase so many of my gluten-free products, lots of my cleaning products for the house, marinades. Thrive Market has all of the dairy-free creamers and nut milks that I use. What I love about Thrive Market is when you look through the ingredient lists of the foods that they sell, they are all whole foods, unprocessed ingredients. So Thrive Market, THRIVE market.com. You can go there, order your foods, and everything gets delivered directly to your house. So that is where I get this gluten-free pasta. They have linguine and fettuccine and farfalle and every kind of shape of pasta that you could possibly want. And this is the one gluten-free pasta that I have found that tastes better than any other. So that I will be cooking later on tonight because like I said, I'm not going to be eating this meal as soon as I finish this video, and I would rather make the pasta fresh right before I eat. So I already told you before, I had my eggplant and peppers stir frying in here. I got that browned up first because that takes the longest, and then I added in the onion because that goes a little bit quicker. So I'm just gonna let the onion, I don't even care if the onion browns. I'm not looking for that caramelization right now on the onions. I'm really just trying to get the onions like translucent so that they're cooked. And then the next step that I'm going to do is I am going to separate these vegetables throughout to push them towards the edges of the pan, and I'm going to let my garlic melt in the middle. So that's my next step. After I do all of that, I have here ground lamb, but you can use any type of ground meat that you like, ground beef or chicken or turkey, whatever you like the best. I'm trying to keep my process as simple as possible, and I have to tell you, the cleaning afterwards is my least favorite part. So I'm trying to keep this to as few pots as possible. So I'm really just cooking up all my vegetables, and I'm going to add my meat directly to the same exact pot. So I already have seasoned and added some extra tastes to my meat. I've added some balsamic vinegar and a little bit of red wine. So those are my favorite. You always have to add, think about all the different tastes in your mouth. You want to have something salty, you want to have something sweet, you want to have something acidic. You have to really, every time you cook, I'm always trying to make sure I'm touching on all of those different taste buds, because that's really what makes the food pop in your mouth when you're eating it. So I have, like I said, the acidity is from the balsamic vinegar and a little bit of red wine. I've also added, for the salt flavor, I've added a little bit of my coconut aminos, which you probably have heard me talk about before, but it is my substitute for soy sauce. It tastes exactly the same. It just is a little healthier. It doesn't have gluten in it. It doesn't have the pesticides that some soy products do have in the United States. So I do prefer coconut aminos. They sell it right in the condiment aisle next to soy sauce and teriyaki sauce and all of that, right at Publix. And you can also get it at Thrive Market, which is the place I was talking about before, where I order many of my marinades and gluten-free products and nut milks and cleaning products for the house that are safer. So thrivemarket.com. I've also added a little bit of mustard to my meat, and then I have seasoned it with salt and pepper, garlic and onion, oregano, paprika, and chili powder. Those were my seasonings that I use, and I'm gonna mix that up with my fingers. And oh, and I forgot. So I touched on the acidity. I touched on the salt with the coconut amino. I had some mustard because I just love the taste of mustard. It's sort of my secret ingredient to almost everything I eat. And then I wanted to touch on the sweet. So I added a half a teaspoon of honey. My sweeteners that I recommend are honey, maple syrup, molasses, stevia, the stevia extract. Those are some really healthy sweeteners, much better than adding sugar, or even some of the artificial sweeteners that include like Sweet and Low and saccharin and some of those other artificial sweeteners that are very unhealthy for us. So, okay, let me get back to my food. So I have my onions nice and translucent. What I'm going to do now, as I explained, I'm going to push all the vegetables to the edges of the pot. I'm going to lower the temperature really, really low at this point, and I'm going to add my garlic. So the garlic only needs to cook for 1 minute on a very low temperature, and I'm going to add some of my absolutely favorite type of olive oil. Did you know that when you buy oils, it's very important to choose oils that are pure and unrefined? So this one is called, I'm gonna really ruin this name. It's called Cassandrinos. So it's a Greek, it's from Greece, and you've probably heard me do some videos before where I really ruin these accents or the way to pronounce some of these words, but Cassandrinos, I order these in a box. I get about 6 bottles at a time, and they last me a really long time. And they have this delicious olive oil flavor that if you've ever been to a really nice Italian restaurant where you dip the bread in the olive oil before you eat, it just has that amazing olive flavor. So you can go to this website and order them and have them delivered to your house. I have not seen this type of olive oil sold at any store. So if you're curious about this, I will type the name out for you, and so that you can order it. But let me know about that, and I will definitely give it to you. So I've pushed the vegetables aside. I've put my garlic into the middle of the pot, and I'm just gonna let that melt with that delicious olive oil. Okay, remember, I still have not seasoned anything because I still want everything to cook without pulling the water out of it. So that's what happens when you add salt to these foods. It pulls the water out, and it stops the browning process. So I save my seasoning till the end. I've also added the foods in the order in which I know they cook. So I know the eggplant took the longest, and the peppers, I added that first. Then I added the onions. Now I'm gonna add the garlic. And then very end, after all of that is done, I'm gonna add my green leafy vegetables because that just takes a really short period of time. I'm going to add tomatoes. So I have these delicious cherry tomatoes. And these are just gonna pop open as we cook the meat and cook everything together. So I'm really excited for this meal. I already smell that garlic. So the smell is what tells you that this is, already almost finished. I'm looking for the garlic to look just like that, little bit melted in the olive oil. Once I see the pieces like melting in, that's when I know it's good to go, and that's when I'm going to add my green leafies. So I have chopped up my kale. It's right behind me. Okay, this is all ready. I'm going to mix all this together. Then I'm going to raise that fire back up a little bit. I lowered it when I put the garlic in there because I don't want the garlic to burn. That's one of the main things when you're cooking garlic, is you do want to avoid burning the garlic. Okay, so lastly, as I promised, I have my yellow in there. I have my purplish eggplant, I have my white onions. Now I'm going to add my green kale, and later I'm going to add my red tomatoes. So I'm hitting on as many colors as possible because every color adds a different vitamin or mineral, and every process in our bodies rely on these different vitamins or minerals. So zinc and all the B vitamins, and we just get so many different vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin D. There's just so many, and every single color represents one of those different nutrients that our processes rely on. So if you're experiencing a special fatigue or joint pain or one of these things, it could be gluten. It also could be that you're missing a specific vitamin or mineral that process requires. So try diversifying your diet. Try adding in new foods. Every 3 days, eat something different than the past 3 days, because people get into a very big routine of eating the very same things all the time because it's just easy. But what's happening is then we become deficient in a specific vitamin or mineral that we are missing out on. So, okay, you can see here that these greens, they wilt right in really fast. You can actually add so many. You can add an entire bag or an entire bushel of these green vegetables, and it really cooks down into almost nothing, it seems, at the end of the meal. The other thing the tip that I would give you with the kale is that if you buy them off of these here, this is what, they look like off of the big, with the stalks. But what I did was I just ripped the leaves off of the stems, and I'm going to keep these stems because this is healthy organic kale, so densely packed with vitamins and minerals that our bodies could use. So I don't want to waste this. I'm going to keep this in a little bag in the freezer, and anytime I make some type of soup or broth or marinade, or there's just so many places where I could stick this in, where the vitamins and the minerals from this can get leached out into our food, and we'll get the benefit of those nutrients. So great way to keep some type of broth in the house always, especially when during a time where we're worried about catching viruses or flus or things like that. It's really great idea to keep a really nutrient dense soup broth in the refrigerator for that time where you want to heat up and have something warm that has so many healthy nutrients in it. So great a tip is to keep the ends and the edges of all of your fruits and vegetables that you're not going to be eating in a baggie in the freezer, and throw that into water and just let it simmer for a couple of hours with some seasonings, and have that broth sitting in the refrigerator for any time that you want. You can actually even save it in the freezer if you want to, because it does go bad after a little while in the refrigerator. Okay, so now we have all of that wilted up in here. At this point, I am going to add some of my balsamic vinegar, and that will help scrape up all the yummy, tasty bits at the bottom of the pan. So some balsamic vinegar. And then I'm going to season. This is about the time that I want to season all of this. So I have some salt, some pepper. I'm gonna try to do this as fast. I spend more time seasoning my food than I do anything else because I add so many, and every time I try to cut it down to fewer, I can't say no to the onion, the garlic, that seems to be a staple, obviously the salt and the pepper, and I can't say no to the other two, which is paprika and chili powder. So I have these, like, let's say 6 that I'm addicted to here. And then, I guess I need a little bit more chili powder. And then the last one I have here is oregano. What I am going to add, there are 2 ingredients that I'm going to add at the end that are really my secret ingredients. So pay attention, because I'm not going to give that away and for another few more minutes. Okay, so I've seasoned everything up. Now, I know a lot of people may think that the order that I'm doing this in is a little bit funny, because a lot of people would have added the meat first, cooked that up, browned that up, and then added the vegetables. But I really wanted my vegetables to be cooked and browned and softened and releasing all that yummy flavor before I added the meat. So now that everything is, seasoned and cooked and delicious, that is when I'm actually going to push apart my vegetables again, and this time I'm going to add in this meat that I already seasoned, and I already added my different ingredients. So I'll tell you again, I had the acidity from the balsamic vinegar and the red wine. I added the sweetness from a little bit of honey, a half a teaspoon of honey. I had my saltiness from my coconut aminos, which is my soy sauce replacement. I have to say that slowly because it comes out really funny when I try to say that fast. And my mustard, and then I seasoned it with the same seasonings that I just talked about, which was salt and pepper, onion and garlic, paprika, chili powder, and oregano. Okay, so this is gonna go, you know what, this looks a little bit dry, so I'm gonna add a little bit of avocado oil to the bottom of that pan right there so that my meat doesn't stick. And then I'm gonna stick that in there right in the center. All right. All right, I'm coming back. What my plan is that when this meat browns up, which happens pretty quickly, it only takes a couple of minutes, I'm then going to add these cherry tomatoes. I'm going to add some basil, which the whole kitchen smells so strongly of basil, which I didn't tell you about yet. But here are my basil leaves. So I'm going to take the basil off of the stems, and I'm going to just loosely chop that up. So the tomato, the basil leaves, and then the very last thing that is really a secret ingredient, and I cannot be forgotten from a meal like this, is the salted pasta water. So once I cook my pasta later on tonight, and I pour the, into the colander, the pasta to get the water out, I actually, before I even do that, I pour some of that salted pasta water into a measuring cup so that I don't lose that, because that starchy, salty water will add a awesome flavor. Will really finish this dish off perfectly. So that is going to be my very last. So just as a reminder, right now I have all my vegetables already cooked. That was the first thing I did in the order in which they cook. So I added the eggplant, the peppers, then I added the onions. Then I separated everything and I melted some delicious garlic, chopped garlic in the center of the pan with my very high quality olive oil, which I can absolutely give you more information about. Just let me know and I will tell you where to order that from. So I melted the garlic in there. Then when everything was done, I poured a little bit of balsamic vinegar in to help me scrape up the bottom, all the bits at the bottom of the pan, which are so delicious. Then I seasoned everything. You have to season in layers, but season at the end. Then I separated all of that and added the meat. Once the meat is brown, I'm then going to add my little cherry tomatoes, my little pieces of chopped basil, and I'm going to cover the pan and just let the tomatoes pop open. That will tell me the sign at that point that it's finished. I can then take it off because I'm not going to be eating it right now, but later on tonight, once I make my pasta, I will add the starchy, salty pasta water to the entire pan, and that will just put everything over the top. So I'm going to absolutely finish all of this up right now and promise to take a picture of everything when it's done. There were kind of a lot of steps to this, and I hope it went smoothly for you. But please let me know if you have any questions about anything that I did, or if you want me to explain it more so in some comments underneath this posting. But I promise again to send you a picture tonight, and know that I am offering nutrition services, both private and group, at the JCA. So check out the JCA website, go to what we offer, and you will see that there's a nutrition programs that you can, a nutrition tab that you can click on so you can see all of the programs that we offer. So check that out, contact me, let me know what your questions are, give me a recipe that you want me to try. I'm really happy to engage with you and make sure that I'm making these videos fun and informative for you. So have a great week, and I'll see you next time, everybody. Bye-bye.